a house, what would you do? What would your process look like? Would you become a wholesaler and start putting up signs everywhere looking for land? Would you start becoming a real estate agent, get your license, and then start looking for land on the system? Or would you simply start looking for land? I think a lot of people in life get very bogged down by being pulled in so many different directions that they don't accomplish the single thing that they're trying to accomplish. In today's segment, I'm actually going to break down how to simplify your life, get more done in less time, and feel less overwhelmed. One of the biggest misconceptions about me is I am too busy. I hear it from clients, I hear it from team members, and it's something that I have actually made a big part of my content. Because if you actually try and reach out to me via DM on Instagram, or if you have my cell phone number, you reach out and say, hey, Justin, need to chat, you are going to get incredibly fast response. It's one thing I take a lot of pride in is when people reach out to me, I either book the meeting, tell them I'm in a meeting, and then I'm going to get back to them and let's set a time to actually have a conversation. How can I possibly do that when I manage the amount of business that I do? If you've never met me before, good morning. My name is Justin Konikow, one of the owners of Prime Real Estate with my amazing wife. We have a big team of agents that cover all of Southwestern Ontario. We do residential, we do commercial, we do investments. We manage 50 plus listings at any one time. We manage a huge swath of buyers, a huge investment community. We do webinars, we do master classes, we send out newsletters, we do content. I own a production company. We have a media agency that runs advertising against the creative. My gosh, I'm starting to feel overwhelmed telling you all this stuff. Yet, I have time to go fly fishing. I have time to go dinner with my wife and daughter. I have time to respond to clients very quickly, more so than a single agent who is maybe working on 2 listings because I've created simplicity in my life. I'm going to give you that blueprint today. I'm going to give you a little bit of inspiration and some tools for you to take this weekend and find that simplicity in your own life. So if I start with the feeling, like the emotion of overwhelm, trust me, I've been there, right? And I think when I give you this toolbox and I tell you that my life's simple and I can be responsive, that is the framework or the house that I have built, but it is always a work in progress. So the biggest asterisk I'm going to put on this episode is despite all the tools, despite all the advice I'm going to give you, I don't hit it at 100% every single day, right? I really want to put that forth because I think too many people on social media put forth this image of perfection that is simply not real. We are all fallible. We are all human. We are all beautifully and wonderfully made in our own right and very, very different. So take these tools and use it to find the very best version of yourself. So what are the actual tools? The first tool I'm going to talk about is getting your mind in order. All of the ideas and all the things you have to do, how do you sort those things? Second tool I'm going to give you is now how do you go out and create the framework? Once you've got everything in your brain out on a piece of paper, like what can I do to actually create the framework? And then the third tool I'm going to give you is what is that accountability and that reframing piece? Because again, a lot of people look for the tool as the easy button when in actuality, the easy button is not the answer. The consistency is the actual answer. I know it sounds all mystical, everything that I'm saying, but I'm going to break it down very simply and make it tangible. The first thing you need to do, though, is you're going to have to make time to sit down and do this. So, homework for all of you is tomorrow morning from 9 to 10 a.m. or pick a time block where the world's not pulling at you. I want you to grab a tea, a coffee, a bottle of water, and a notepad. No phones, no devices. And you're going to go somewhere and you're going to work on this. You're going to work on the framework of the life that you actually want to create before you start working on the mind sweeping techniques and the time blocking and like actually building out the framework. You need to know where you actually want to go. So I'll give you my framework, but you can modify it for whatever world you want to create. So if I think of the major things that matter in my life, my faith, my fitness, my family, my fun, my finances, the reason I've created that structure is, well, I know if my heart's not right with God, I'm not going to be in a place where I can really focus on my workout or whatever physical activity I'm trying to do. But Justin, why is fitness more important than your family? It's not, but if I want to be in a place to guard, guide, and govern my family, I need to be in good physical and mental health so that I'm emotionally stable. And when we're having conversations, I'm dealing with family stuff, I'm not feeling overwhelmed or reactive because my body is affecting the way that my mind works. That's a real thing, folks. The food that you eat, how often you work out, your cardiovascular abilities all impact how your brain functions. Blood flow leads to your brain, and you actually have a clarity of thought. Then if my family's in a great place, right? If I just take care of my fitness and my family and my faith, everything else is going to sort itself out. But the next thing I put is my fun. The fun is a very, very big piece of it, because if I don't put the fun before the work and the work supersedes everything else, I am going to resent my work for preventing me from having a great quality of life and everything else that I just described. So this is your homework. Super simple, is go through that list and think about what do you need to do in a year, a quarter, a month, a week, a day to fill those cups. If you had 1 liter of water and 5 cups, and you have to put it across those 5 cups so that you have somewhat of a balanced, say 1 out of 10, you're at a good like 5 on each one of them. What do you physically need to do in order to incorporate that? I actually want you to start with the week first. Like, what do you need to physically do in a week? Is it, mindfulness and prayer? Is it putting time to work out? Maybe that just means move or recover or gain some type of mobility. Do you need to put time to connect with your family? Do you need to put time to work on skill development in any one of those aspects? Like, if you don't think about making the time, you want to accomplish something, you're just not going to do the thing. And then from building out those first 4, you're going to realize how little time you actually have for the work. I'll give you the framework for how I actually do it from a work perspective and execute at a very high level. But I want you to understand, I've worked on those first 4 first before I look at, well, what do I have left for work? And what can I do that is going to give me incredible leverage in my work time, that if I put an hour into this, I will move the ball forward in my work in an effective manner. Because I think what a lot of people get wrong is when they're trying to build the house, they're trying to deploy 10% energy against 100 different tasks, when in reality, they should be deploying 80% energy against one major task. What I said at the beginning of the video, if you're looking to build a house, you need to find the land. Maybe the best use of time for you is to call people who look for land, and that is their job, and leverage them. Then the next piece you're going to need to figure out is the framing of the house. Then you're going to need to figure out all the building components and the design and your budgeting. And guess what? There's tons of people on this planet that are amazing at all of those things. So what I would recommend is you get into alignment with those people and do it in a very high level way. So once you've established the framework of, this is the life that I want to create, this is what my life actually is going to look like, the next thing you're going to need to do is you're going to need to create the framework. So here's 2 very simple tools that I'll give you that are an absolute game changer. And remember, the tool is not the easy button. It is not the crutch. It is simply something that you will use that will come full circle the next part of this training of holding you accountable. So the first tool is the mind sweep, and it is something that is critical. 15 minutes is all it takes a day. And if you want to supercharge it, 15 minutes in the morning, 15 minutes at night. I still don't hit my nightly mind sweep 60%, or I do it maybe 60% of the time, right? So 40% of the time, I'm just busy, things are happening, and I'm making excuses, right? But in the reality is, all a mind sweep is take everything in your brain and dump it on paper. The reason why that's incredibly powerful is now you don't have the mind worms. You don't have the overwhelming feeling of, I need to remember to do that, because it lives somewhere. You do need to decide of where does it live. I would say you could use it on a notepad. You can use something like a Remarkable. You can use an external brain like Asana, Trello. I have tons of videos where I talk about mind sweeping and time blocking, entire segments on it, but it is so powerful to just dump it somewhere and think about it. Simplicity is absolutely key. So I only keep a couple columns. What is absolutely critical, and nothing really more than 6 things can live on that at any one time. What do I have to do this week? What do I have to do someday? The cool thing about a mind sweep is if you start affecting it on a regular basis, 15 minutes in the morning, 15 minutes at night, it may only take you 10 minutes to look at everything that's happening in your life and shift things around. And then it's like having an assistant that is helping you organize your life. And as you develop your skills and time, eventually somebody else can actually take that over for you. Super hack to all this is you only have 3 things: time, skill, and money. And if you have a lot of time, not a lot of skill, and not a lot of money, you can put in time on a regular basis to acquire the skill, which will then outweigh the actual time you have to put in. The business will come to you and you can buy back your time. But that's a segment for another day. So now you have the external brain, you have a place for all your ideas. And you're like, well, Justin, what about the framework? You keep talking about this framework. My framework is my calendar. In between my mind sweeping and my calendar, I have 2 of the most effective tools on the planet. Somebody once told me that if you can only look at your bank account and your calendar, and somebody had to tell you who you were based off those two things, what story would it actually tell? What story do we tell us about ourselves and the lives that we want to live and who we are? And this is who I am. This is what I do. And this is the life that I live. But oh no, don't look at my calendar and don't look at my bank account. Because if you saw where I was actually spending my money, maybe you'd see what I was eating on a regular basis. And it doesn't track to me being the healthiest person that I want to be. If I looked at my calendar and realized I wasn't sleeping 8 hours a night, not that my life is the same as yours, or you have to sleep the same amount that I do, because I don't always sleep 8 hours, what story would it actually tell? And the cool thing about it is you don't have to hide from it, right? The tools are simply a mirror. And if you are willing to look at the tools and hold yourself accountable, then you can make these adjustments on a weekly basis and you can start tweaking. And then when you look at them on a quarterly or a bi-yearly or a yearly basis, you will be shocked at the changes that you can make in your life. But if you're not willing to actually use the tools and be consistent in them, you're going to keep looking at years slipping by you, wondering why you can't affect big change in your life. And I think that's where a lot of people get pulled in too many different directions and feel like there's always a reason. I'll just start that till next week. I'll start making this change in my life next week because today is today, and I feel really stressed because of what happened this week. But you end up in this doom cycle that just perpetuates this feeling that that there's something better inside you. And that's why I do these segments. I don't sell anything. I'm not available for coaching. I do have time because I've built this framework in my life, but I've also put very high walls around where I spend that time, where I do my speaking engagements, who I collaborate with, and where I'm going to deploy it, because I'm very clear on the framework for the house that I want to build. Coolest thing about everything is I can adjust that as time goes. The person I am today and the person I'm striving to be tomorrow is very different than the person you would have met a year or 2 years ago. Something that happens in my industry, a lot of agents want to get around successful agents that definitely have a perception of success, right? People will look at the business that we have and they're like, I wonder how Justin got that. And I'm not smarter than anybody else. No special talents. I wasn't plugged into the industry. I didn't even grow up in the market that I actually work in. But I can tell you, I was above average in my consistency over time and looking at what I'm doing and where I want to go, that we're constantly able to grow and level up. Had a conversation with a massive developer yesterday and found something in a conversation somebody else would have found very difficult as a huge opportunity to level up that relationship, future opportunities. But it's going to take me looking at our systems very critically and saying, this piece of feedback, I could bury my head in the sand, or I can use it as fuel to become the best version of myself possible. And there's no conversation that should make you feel overwhelmed, paralyzed. You should take that step forward and become the best version of who you want to be, because I know it's there. If you feel like you have that fire inside you, jump in the chat and let me know. There's a pile of people here this morning. Good morning, Olivier Maurice. I see you, Dora Marie, Christina Howard, Success Fab Motivation, Roger Horvath, the flying realtor, literally flies helicopters for Air Orange in our market. Amazing guy. And Sheila Santini, I see you here as well. So once you've created the framework, now let's get into the tactical pieces. So I'm running the real estate business. I run my team. I'm actually in production. I'm not somebody that's not actually selling houses. Like, if you call me, you get me. Let's go back to what I said about my clients maybe feel like, you're so busy. It's one of those things that it's a perception I really, really, really work hard to show people that is more something that's on their side of the fence than it is in actuality. Because if they want somebody that's available for them 24/7, they're probably going to get somebody that doesn't have a lot on the go. They want to hire the best person on the planet. They're going to get somebody that is doing a lot of things and creating a lot of attention for the projects that they're working on and has a ton of market intelligence because they see a lot of deals. But like, how do you do so many things yet retain such a simple life? So I talked about building a house, talked about getting land, building framework, working with builders, and leverage. What I've constantly identified in my business, and this is through finding mentors who do it at a much bigger scale than I, is no man or woman is an island. Nobody has gotten to any level of success without a tribe of people around them or creating leverage in their life. So to create a very simple life for yourself, and let's just focus on your business for a second: time, skill, and money. The biggest thing you can do to identify how you can move your business forward is identify, where can I deploy my time that is going to move my business in the biggest way. And I'll give you my secret. The biggest way that I can affect change in my business is calling people and creating networks that all roads lead back to real estate. So my finder time, prospecting. A lot of agents say, oh, the leaders don't actually prospect. Like agents at your level, Justin, don't actually pick up the phone. Weird, because I'm usually in the office earlier and later than most people and actually picking up the phone and consistent with my prospecting time. And my prospecting time isn't itemizing all you human beings on a spreadsheet and calling and saying, do you know anybody who's looking to buy or sell real estate? Prospecting is communicating with other human beings and creating an ecosystem of people I want to work with. And I want to get to know. I want to talk to leads that I call and say, don't ever call me again. I'm like, well, you clicked on my ad. And they just hang up on me. Amazing. That's one less person out of 8 billion people that wants to work with me. And it's getting me closer to the 7 billion people who want to work with me. If I get 7 billion, I'll be a very, very happy man. So how do I simplify my prospecting time? I create a system that I can do that doesn't require a lot of effort. So I think about, like, if I'm building a routine, if I'm building my morning routine, which is me hopping in my sauna, opening my Bible, writing stuff down, working out, I don't even think about it. Like, I wake up and that is just the thing that I do. In the beginning, it took a lot of effort to stop the habits of picking up my phone, scrolling Facebook, scrolling Instagram, like being reactive to the world, opening up my email, getting stressed out about work. It took me literally probably a year to just get into the habit of, oh, I wake up, I go downstairs, I turn on my sauna, I take my vitamins, I grab my Bible, then I do this, then I do that. And I created this pattern and this groove. And the more that you grease the groove, the smoother it gets. Same thing with prospecting. So I looked at, well, who do I need to actually communicate with? Well, I need to communicate with people I don't know, which would just be general leads. Where do I get leads? Leads typically come in off sign calls or Facebook, or I'll do a whole other segment on leads. So people I don't know. Well, then there's people that I do know, but I just don't know, like, are they buying a house now or are they buying a house in the future? So I start creating a system where I organize my database on a daily basis, no different than my mind sweep. Organizing my database maybe takes 30 minutes a day. And I go through 5 people I don't know, 5 people I do know, and maybe 5 people I want to know. So 15 people a day, maybe take me an hour tops. I go into my database and I sort through them. Now, how am I actually reaching out to these people? I could just call them nonstop, but nobody wants to be called today, especially if they don't recognize the name on the number. A lot of times it's a text. A lot of times it's going on Instagram and clicking on stories and DMing people that, like, maybe I know or want to know, and using a multi-billion-dollar company's algorithm to create conversation and then just brand awareness by me popping up in their feeds because we actually like each other and talk to each other. And I want Instagram to remind me that, like, I like their stuff and I want to support them and have them part of my ecosystem. And as they do I. And maybe I build a system where I'm like, hey, I'll do a little bit on Instagram, a little bit on LinkedIn. I will pick up the phone and call this person, or I will text them. Like, I'm very thoughtful about the method of communication, but, like, let's take all of that aside, all of the overwhelm of all the different tasks, and let's focus on the simple task. Did I communicate with 15 people today? Right? I have it in my remarkable checklist. I created a document, which I will share to everybody if you want a copy of it, that outlines the things I need to do. And it's very simple. I like checking off the boxes because it just holds me accountable to, like, did I do the things? Like, did I do my morning routine? Did I read my Bible? Did I move? Did I learn? Did I plan? I'll go on, but my finder time is in there. And there's weeks where it's an X across all 7 days because I've got systems in place and things happening where other people on the team are prospecting. But, like, sometimes I'm like, no, I need to sit down and I need to buckle down. We're working on a project. I need to make sure I'm hitting my prospecting time every single day this week. So I actually have it somewhere where I'm like, did I call 15 people? You can scale that to whatever you want. If you want to call 100 people, call 100 people. So that is one of the biggest ways that I affect change in my business, is actually creating new business. And what's cool in my business is the business I'm doing today, right? The prospecting I'm doing today becomes business in like 90 to 120 days. A lot of people don't have the consistency to stick through to get there. And they keep wondering, well, how do you get the listings, Justin? No, it must be because you have signs up. It's not at all. The signs that I have up are a result of the work that I'm doing, not vice versa. The amount of agents that have told me that as soon as I get the signs up in the neighborhood, then everybody's going to like me. I'm like, no, you can spend a lot of money on mailers. You can pick up the phone and you can go door knock and meet people, like, put out content. Like, you have to do the actions to get the thing. The thing is not going to give you the actions. I could go down a wormhole for that for an hour. Second thing you need to do for simplicity Make time to work on your business. I would say this is like your whole life, work on your faith, fitness, family, fun, finances, whatever, but just your business. That's your homework for tomorrow. Sit down and like, what do you actually want to accomplish in your business? And just like the prospecting time, what is the one thing that you can do by which everything else will be easier? The answer to that is to create systems. Because if you keep doing things in your business without outlining how those things are done, when you do put enough time in to develop enough skill to have enough money and you need to train somebody to do that thing, you have nowhere to go to show them how to do that thing. And the system relies on you sitting down and showing them that thing. Your systems or your operations manual can start today. If you're brand new and you have no business and you want to be a photographer, how do you go and shoot a property? How do you go and meet a client and talk about what they want to accomplish? How do you price out a job? Do you have a checklist or an outline of what that looks like? Because once you do, you can refine it. Some of our SOPs are dated and not applicable to how we do things anymore. But we can go into those SOPs and change them on the fly. Like we have one Google Doc. Google Docs is free, people. And in that Google document, we have sections for all the major components of our building or of our business. And we keep modifying those things. But what did I say? It got us to where we are today. Simple consistency over time equals success. So putting time in 30 minutes a day to work on your business will help you achieve some of the biggest things you could possibly imagine. But if you don't put in the time, you won't achieve the thing. So the two things that you need to do is, well, three things: dump everything somewhere on paper, start building out your actual frameworks so you can do the things that you need to do. Go find business and start working on your business. That is very, very simple advice on how you can create simplicity in your life. What I also would say is, in terms of like, how do you keep minimizing the distractions, is going back to the framework anytime you get pulled in a different direction. When you get an idea, make the time to sit down and look over your framework and ask yourself, is this working? Because when I said, I'm going to give you the tools and I'm going to give you the actual way to keep growing, the last piece of that is the accountability piece. So if you're doing the mind sweep on a regular basis, at the end of the week, you can look at your calendar and you can see and you can feel, looking at your calendar, how did that actually affect change in your life? Because a lot of times I think people just keep doing the same thing over and over, expecting a different result, realizing what they're doing is not working. And you can make adjustments. You have to be willing to be honest with yourself about the adjustments that you need to make. When I go through my PDF and I go through my list, there are things in this that I'm not doing on a regular basis. I have two at the bottom that I added: Google reviews and AI. We do a boatload of business. I do not do a great job of asking my clients for Google reviews. I should make it really easy for them. It should be just a simple text message saying, hey, if you get a second, do this. Let me know if there's anything I can do for you. And I know we'll get amazing reviews because of the service that we provide for our clients, but it's just not doing it on a regular basis. So I put it on my list and I'm like, yep, I definitely need to make time for that next week. Was I kind with my family? Did I do cold therapy? Did I read? Little tweaks of things and layers I want to add to my life, I'm putting somewhere so that at the end of the week I can look at it. And then sometimes I scrap things. I've had things in my framework that I've taken in and I have removed. Getting on podcasts, doing speaking engagements, I have to limit how many of those I actually do. I do my own podcast every Thursday, 1 to 2 p.m., the Prime People podcast. We've had Sirhant on, Glenn Lundy. I've had amazing, amazing guests on that podcast. I've been doing it for years. That is a massive piece of the future of what we're creating. So I'm going to continue to do that. But when I'm getting pulled in a lot of different directions to be on other people's podcasts right now, we have just gone through building the foundation of what the future of Prime is going to be. And now we're going through a training and onboarding phase. So in this phase of my life, to keep it simple, I know I have to find new business, manage my active business, and then train and create clarity around my organizational structure. As much as I want to travel and speak and do all of these things, it's just not in the cards for me right now. It doesn't mean it's not going to be in the future, but I have clarity on the things that I need to do to affect change in the long run. I need to make it seamless so my clients know exactly what we're doing on their listings and they feel like they're being better communicated with than anybody else. One simple thing by which 50 plus clients will feel like they can trust that we are doing the best job possible. Now, I set expectations with my clients a lot of times, and I tell them, like, we do a lot. We're always changing up our marketing. We're going to do more for you on your listing than anybody on the planet. I promise you that. If I actually showed you my pre-launch, my launch, my active listing, my what do I do if it's not selling checklist, we have lots of tools in our toolbox. The worst thing that we are is sitting down and communicating to you every single thing that's happening every single day. Because if all I'm doing is texting you about what I'm doing, I'm not actually doing anything. I'm just texting you. So now we're looking at creating a system on how do we actually show people that at a very high level while it's not a distraction from us actually doing our job. So this whole segment was really just geared around taking something that everybody goes through, right? I'm not unique to my business that, I do so much volume that there's nobody else on the planet that sells as many houses as me. I'm not unique to the fact that I'm a father. I'm not unique to the fact that, I like eating pizzas and I live life, right? I live life just like you do. I am more like you than you could possibly imagine. But what I struggled with for a very, very long time that I am trying to solve for you today and give you that 10-year cheat code is these are a couple tools that made a huge difference in my life and allowed me to constantly reframe and be available for people at an ultra high level by putting systems in place and thinking about where I need to focus my energy. And in the beginning, I didn't have a lot of money, didn't have a lot of skill. So I deployed my time against things in the major categories of my life that would move the needle in the biggest way. I did it for a decade. It wasn't until the last 3 years that I leapfrogged that first 10 years by probably 20 or 30 years. And the most exciting thing for me is that anybody that's met me, anybody that's worked with me, any clients that are working with me now, any agents that are learning from me now, if they ever get to a place where they feel like, well, I've learned everything I possibly can from Justin, congratulations. Very happy for you. And if you're like, I need to go work with somebody else, I need to go work somewhere else, I encourage you to do that. But the person I am becoming, the person you're going to meet in 1 year, 2 years, 5 years, is going to be virtually unrecognizable to the person you're working with today. When I look back at the last 2 to 3 years since I found these tools, the version of what we're creating isn't Prime 1.0, 2.0. It's like Prime 5.0 to 10.0. Like, it's going to be more exciting to me than the launch of the new iPhone every year, because that's exactly how I'm looking at my life in business. It is life and work by design, because if you are not in control of those things, if you're not in control of the tools, I have a confession for you, the tools are in control of you. Could be social media, could be your business, could be your life. And if you've ever felt like your life, your work, social media is in control of you, I encourage you to hit the subscribe and the notification button, because that's all I do on this channel is I break the matrix and I give you the tools so that you can create the best life and the best version for yourself. Appreciate your time for being here and being here for this segment. If you want to be part of the community, just hit the subscribe and notification button. Go to justinkonikow.com if you want the resources. That's where I'm going to send out this PDF that I created. You could drop it into your Remarkable tablet, or you can actually just print it out. And then that way you can have a copy of it for yourself. You can see my exact framework, and then you can completely shred it and create your own. Appreciate you all so much. I'm going to go back to Clubhouse to do a little bit of Q&A, and I'll catch you next week. See you for now.